remember a time when I didn't want to be a mom.
I just always loved kids, and I loved babies.
You know, he was 5 or 6 months old, and I was like, I don't think he's meeting milestones like he should. And, you know, I did my due diligence, and I brought it up to the pediatrician, and you are a first-time mom, and you are worrying about nothing, and kids develop on their own time, and he's a late bloomer, was used a lot, and he'll be fine. He's going to do everything on his own. It's fine. I was nervous for the call, but just because you don't know what they're going to say. And he said the words, and I said, okay. And I wrote them down, because I didn't know what they meant yet. And then he said, it's degenerative, physically and mentally. And everything stopped. I listened, and I wrote things down because I knew I should. But it's like my world's crumbling around me. How can I even write? And this is my baby. How could this be happening to my baby? It just didn't compute. It didn't make sense. Because all these doctors all along had said, it's not degenerative. And I believed them, and they believed that. And more than the call, I remember after the call, closing the screen on the computer of the Zoom and breaking. I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't stop crying. Jack was sleeping upstairs, and I just couldn't imagine how this could have happened to my baby.
It was really hard to understand what they were saying in the phone call and really comprehend what they were saying, because they were essentially saying that he was going to end up in a wheelchair, and from there lose even potentially his ability to use his hands and arms, and then after that start a neurological decline that would, take away a lot of his ability to think, and certainly he'd never be independent. The things that you thought mattered don't. They just don't anymore. You just want to love him and have him live as healthy and wonderful and normal a life as he can.
And that idea of him catching up had played such a big part in our life. Even up to that point when we knew it was going to take longer. That catch-up phrase was everywhere, and it was a big deal for me. I just wanted him to catch up and be okay. And when we got the diagnosis, and more when we started to really understand what it meant, I just wanted him to be able to use his arms. I wanted him to be able to hug. And he grabs your hand, and he grabs his cousin's hands all the time, and he hugs them, and I want him to be able to use his arms. And he's so bright, and he loves to read, and I want him to be able to use his mind. And that phrase of catch up just evaporated. It means absolutely nothing compared to what really matters. And we just so desperately want him to have the life that he deserves. NIH told us he has hereditary spastic paraplegia, type SPG50. Here's what it does, and there is no cure. There is no cure. But, and that but was this sliver of hope, and it was everything. It's everything that we have held on to and has propelled us forward.
The more you learn, the more you realize that at the time there were 70 kids like Jack in the world that had been diagnosed with this type of SPG 50, and there's just no funding for a disease that carrot, you only help 70 people. And I would have completely understood that
Till your child is one of them.
3 years ago. But now you think, my God, it's 70 people. If you look at other gene therapies, and the hope for this gene therapy is that it will, at a minimum, stop the progression of the disease. And it even could reverse the disease, which would be fantastic, but frankly, I don't care. I just want to stop for my little boy.